A new documentary explores Erika Jayne and Tom Girardi's legal troubles. Eboni Williams is taking a break from social media, and Falynn spills the tea on Porsha and Simon. All this and more on your Bravo Weekly Recap. Hey guys, welcome to another shared news from home. Welcome to our first ever Bravo Weekly Recap. We're going to get into all the crazy things that went down in Bravo Universe this week. But first, make sure that you ring the bell and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future updates. As always, I'm your host, Morgan Wright, joined today by Zachary Reality. Zach, we have tons to discuss.
You know, we always have tons to discuss in Bravo, but this week especially, there is a lot going on, and there is no one I would rather break down this Bravo tea with than you, Morgan.
Oh, thanks, Zach. Well, let's just jump right into it. The headline that everyone has been talking about, this new ABC News original documentary coming out on Erika Jayne and Tom Girardi. It's called The Housewife and the Hustler. Let's take a look at the trailer.
There once was a housewife,
Erika Jayne,
The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
who married a hustler.
Tom Girardi was LA Law, so powerful.
They were just blowing money left and right. But then
The Real Housewives star accused with her husband of staging a fake divorce.
Thomas Girardi accused of embezzlement. People love a good scandal.
the biggest question is, did she know?
The housewife and the hustler. Only on
Zach, what a shock. I don't think any of us were expecting to see this. What were your initial reactions to this documentary coming out on Hulu?
I'm so excited about this. You know, she basically said that she's not doing press all season long. She wasn't on Watch What Happens Live for the premiere night of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. We are so invested in what's going to happen in Erika's life, what's going to happen on this upcoming season of Beverly Hills. Erika's been staying silent. Is she okay? I mean, Erika had it all. She had this huge house. She had a man with lots of money. You know, she was spending $40,000 a month on glam. Like, her life truly went upside down in the past year, and I'm dying to know more details. So I'm so excited about this, and that was my initial thought, just pure excitement. I'm invested.
Yeah, the documentary is going to explore Erika and Tom's legal and financial controversies. You know, Girardi's embezzlement accusers are actually going to speak on this, and Real Housewives stars are all weighing in with their interviews. We'll also get a look at Girardi's never before aired deposition tape, along with voicemail messages and court records. I mean, just so many things that Zach, we would never see on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So what are you looking forward to most in this new documentary as opposed to what we see on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills every week?
I think we're going to get a little bit more of an intimate storyline. We're going to really get to learn what happened and what's going on legally. I'm kind of surprised that they're sharing all of this on like a documentary. Like, is that going to affect the court? Could this possibly mean that Erika or Tom is going to go to jail? This is a really serious issue. So I'm really confused, like, what they're actually going to share or what they're allowed to share, because what you just said, Morgan, they're sharing it all. Like, they are not leaving anything out on the table. And I want to know every juicy detail. But Morgan, I'm wondering, do you think that Erika is actually going to be in this documentary, or they're just going to be people close to her kind of talking about the situation?
Yeah, so in the trailer, you see Dana Wilkie, who was on previous seasons. You know, she was the girl in the sunglasses, the 25,000 at the pool party. You see Heather McDonald, who has her Juicy Scoop podcast. So you know you're going to see those perspectives. But as far as Erika Jayne, I don't think that she is going to come on it because she's not doing press right now, because she's not doing interviews and Watch What Happens Live. I mean, she knows that she needs to kind of keep a low profile. Now, I did find something very interesting because this trailer dropped this week, but I don't know if you've checked Erika's Instagram stories recently, Zach. That very first scene where she's stepping out of the car and all the camera lights are flashing and she's in that pink dress, she posted that clip on her Instagram story. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that.
Do you think that's subtle shade? Because, I mean, they happened simultaneously. So surely she had to have seen the documentary and then posted that. What did you think about it?
Well, I think she has to be involved in the documentary in some way. Maybe she won't be actually starring in it, but she had to sign off on it and put her name in it. Correct me if I'm wrong. She must be getting paid for this documentary that's about her. They can't just make a documentary about her and her life without her permission. Am I wrong?
I don't know. Honestly, the only thing that I can compare it to is the Britney Spears documentary, and everything that we've heard from her on framing Britney Spears is like, I don't want this documentary about me. So I don't know if they have to or not. That would be something, guys, if you know in the comments, let us know if Erika Jayne had to sign off on this or not, because we're kind of lost on that one. And it's been said this past season that investigators have been tuning in to watch the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, to write down every ring, every shoe, every coat, to kind of take a look at Erika's assets, use it against them in Tom's embezzlement case. What I want to ask you, Zach, is do you think we're really seeing what goes on behind closed doors with Erika? Do you think we're going to get into it? Because we got the teaser for next week's episode. All of the girls are going to find out that Erika's getting a divorce. How real do you think it's going to get?
I think it's going to get pretty real. I think there's been a lot of articles out there and a lot of people teasing that this season is going to be all about Erika and focus heavily on Erika's divorce and everything that's going on with the legalities and her husband. So I definitely think we're going to get a closer look on what's going on in her life. I think we'll get an even closer look on this docuseries, but I think we'll see a lot of it play out on The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. But we also do need to remember that it is an ensemble cast. So the entire show is not going to be about Erika every single episode, but I do think she will take a major role in a lot of the storylines moving forward. And I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So that documentary premieres on Hulu on June 14th. I will make sure to set it to my DVR so I can watch it at least 5 times. So let's get into the last episode of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Zach, because kind of a fun fact that came out after the show is that this was filmed 5 days before Erika Jayne filed for divorce from Tom Girardi. I know we mentioned that next week we're going to see all the ladies finding out about the divorce, but everything we've seen up until now, nothing really is a red flag to a viewer. If you wouldn't know the situation, you wouldn't know that Erika is about to go through a legal bombshell. I mean, even one of the quotes that she said on this last episode is she's talking about how she's easygoing. And she said, that's one of the things I love about Tom the most is that he lets me be myself. So she's saying all these things about her husband, how they're spending more time together in quarantine, how they're ordering out food, that he lets her be herself. 5 days later, she files for divorce. Do you think, can you tell Erika is acting any differently this season? Or do you kind of feel like if you didn't know what was actually going on, you would kind of be as shocked as the ladies were in the teaser for the next episode?
Erika kind of seems very chill this season. Usually she's known to be very cold-hearted and kind of has a wall up. But this season she's been very chill. And, we're just getting started with Beverly Hills. The first couple episodes are usually like an introduction. Where is everybody now? So I think that we will see a lot more. But in regards to Erika and Tom, I even think that if they're getting divorced, they're still going to be on good terms. I don't think that they are at odds or against each other. I honestly have always thought that their marriage was kind of more of a business thing. I think that they love each other and respect each other, but I don't think they've ever been in love. And I think a lot of fans have kind of thought that too. He is 30 years older than her. I kind of always just seemed more like a business marriage. So I don't think that she is divorcing him because she is no longer in love with him, because I just don't think she was ever in love with him in that way, maybe a long time ago. I think that they're getting divorced because of all this legal issues and Erika wants to protect herself. And I think that they will remain friends moving forward, regardless if they have a divorce or not. I don't think it's messy between them. I think it's just messy because of all the money and people involved.
Do you think that if Erika really didn't know anything that was going on with Tom, that they would stay friends after all of this?
I think Erika must have known something. I think it would be impossible for her to not know anything. I think she's had an inkling. I think she's let him do his thing. He handles his money. Erika makes her own money. She originally got married to him when she didn't have any money. She said she was a stripper on the pole back in the day. Tom was the one who was a multimillionaire, but now Erika has really built her own career with the help of Tom. And now she is, a pop star. She's a housewife. She does all of these brand deals. And I think Erika will be fine. Hopefully. I think that there'll be a lot of opportunities for her to make money in the future, but I just don't know how sucked in she's going to get to with these legal issues. But I think she knew a little bit what was going on, in my opinion.
I mean, really only time will tell, right? We're gonna see it play out in the show. There's a new documentary coming out. There's gonna be a court here. I mean, it's gonna go on for a very long time. So hopefully we find out some details. But let's move on from Erika because we're gonna be talking about her for weeks to come. Let's talk about Sutton and Crystal's feud that was ignited this week on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Phase one of the feud started when they were in a late night convo.
Are you one of those people that you don't see color? Tell me you're that girl. I don't see color.
And it got turned to race. Obviously, Sutton, we saw kind of cut Crystal off in the middle of her thought process that they were talking about because Sutton says she doesn't want to talk about it, right? She doesn't want to go there. And Crystal becomes so perplexed by Sutton's sudden outrage regarding race that she straight up asks Sutton, "Are you the girl that doesn't see color?" And I feel like you could just see Sutton's face was so panic ridden, like she didn't really know what to say. So she becomes very emotional. And to Crystal, that kind of means that Sutton was sweeping some things under the rug. She didn't want to take responsibility for what she had just said, for kind of cutting Crystal off when Crystal was only talking about her experiences when it comes to her race. Sutton then tried to explain that she was worked up because she sees people as people and not as races. Zach, this was a very intense scene. What were your takeaways of it initially?
Yeah, I don't think Sutton was trying to dismiss Crystal or shade Crystal in any way. Sutton did kind of say she sees people as people. And I think it is important that we all see each other as people and not based on the color of our skin or our race. But I also think, to Crystal's point, it is important to acknowledge color. It is important to acknowledge race. It's important to acknowledge those things about each other. And just because you're acknowledging it, it doesn't mean you're like going against it or judging it. You're just kind of acknowledging it because this is Crystal's experience. She wants to be acknowledged. So I don't think that Sutton meant to kind of dismiss her in any way, but she definitely got very defensive and it wasn't really the best look. And we know that these two are going to be feuding all season long, and I am loving the tea.
So Sutton did end up apologizing both on the show and then again in real time on social media. This post reads, "Despite Crystal and my strained relationship at the time, it was disrespectful to interrupt her and not listen to her express her truth. My life is blessed by the diversity of my relationships, and I am committed to become a better listener to understand the painful realities experienced by people of color. I am sorry. I will do better and be better." I feel like that's pretty genuine. What do you think, Zach?
100%. I don't think Sutton meant to dismiss her or not hear her out. I think Sutton just isn't the best listener in general, especially when she's in the wrong. We've seen Sutton get very defensive in many situations. She's very sensitive. So I don't think that she was trying to dismiss Crystal or disrespect her in any way. I think Sutton just has a personality that rubs people the wrong way, and she's just very abrasive at times.
Yeah, so they kind of seemed to smooth things over for a second, but their feud only got worse when it was brought up at dinner the next night. They were all kind of having their own separate conversations because their tables were a little bit spread apart because they were still in the thick of COVID, right? So they weren't all just sitting at one big table how they normally do. So we saw a lot of side conversations between the women. And when it was brought back up between Dorit and Erika at the end of the table, Sutton all of a sudden got very flustered all over again. So that's kind of a side storyline that was going on while this Kathy Hilton prank was being pulled. And it's important to remember this because I'll get to it in a second. But the bottoms up prank, everyone was talking about it. Kathy Hilton pretends to chug an entire martini, but the truth is it's only water in her glass. Kathy got Dorit to play along. Let's take a look real quick.
I've already had two of these.
She said 2 martinis? Is that what she said?
But you got to do bottoms up.
Bottoms up?
Yes, we
Okay.
are. Bottoms up.
Go. Oh my God. Oh my
Dorit!
God. Yes.
I mean, their faces, Zach, crack me up every time they watch one of their castmates down a martini, just looking at their faces. Have you ever done that?
No, I haven't. But I was thinking like Sutton was thinking. I did not know that they were drinking water until after when they explained it. I totally fell for the prank just like Sutton did. I mean, Kathy's face looked really convincing.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole prank kind of took a turn, right? So it started with Kathy and Dorit. They were in on it, but then Dorit decides to prank Kathy. So what happens is Dorit is texting Erika and Lisa to kind of play along with the joke. So then Kathy's under the impression that Erika and Lisa are actually downing these martinis, but they're actually just water too. So pretty much the whole table is in on it. But people are texting underneath the table, trying to keep everything hush hush, trying to like prank the prankster. And that kind of got Sutton in a bad headspace because she's thinking, we just had this serious conversation about what happened between Crystal and I last night. Now everyone's texting underneath the table. She really jumped the gun in thinking that everyone was texting about her. Do you think that Sutton jumped to conclusions a little too quickly?
I don't know, because I can understand that if everyone's kind of texting
Mhm.
and in on this prank and she's the only one not in on the prank. But you find out after that Kyle wasn't even involved in the prank. Crystal and Garcelle just figured it out. So I think Sutton might have been overreacting a little bit, but I also think that I get it. Like, you're the only one not texting under the table. So, and she felt a little bit insecure because of her argument with Crystal the night before.
Yeah, totally. I feel like it would be very easy for the other ladies to say, like, no, we weren't doing anything and whatever. But if you're Sutton in that situation and you just came off of a very heated conversation, you're going to think that people are talking about you. I mean, anytime that you're even in a public setting, I know if I'm out to eat with 8 of my girlfriends and I see 3 of them texting underneath the table, I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, what are you guys talking about? And why can't you share it with everybody here? So Sutton, they get in the van, they go home. Sutton explains that to the girls why she was so upset. And then Crystal kind of kicks her underneath the seat to tell her to zip it because she's going to ruin the prank. Kathy's going to find out that it was just like a whirlwind. And that makes Sutton even more upset. I mean, it kind of exploded at that point between Sutton and Crystal, between Sutton and Garcelle. Kyle's trying to console Sutton. And then Crystal is annoyed and calls Sutton bat crazy, like full on to her face, which I thought was a little bit harsh. Do you think Sutton was being overly sensitive or was Crystal being too harsh?
A little bit of both. I think
Mm.
Sutton is just kind of uptight. I mean, everyone else is laughing, having a good time. Sutton just has this stick up ass, and she just has this attitude for no reason. No, I did read a lot of tabloids. There's a lot of speculation that Sutton is going to be causing a lot of drama this season because she wanted to get her diamond. She was a friend of last season. So a lot of people are saying that she really wanted to amp it up earlier in the season to make sure that she got her diamond because it wasn't confirmed that she was holding a diamond until the end of the season. So I think Sutton really felt like she had to prove herself in the early few weeks of filming so that she got her diamond because she really wanted the diamond. So if that is what Sutton was doing, then it worked. If not, I think Sutton needs to take a chill pill and just kind of ease up a little bit. They're on vacation.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like probably the alcohol and the situation at hand probably didn't make her feel any better, especially with the night before. I do, however, think that Crystal was a little tough on Sutton. I feel like the best way to console somebody who's upset is not to call them bad crazy to their face. Now I understand that maybe she was coming at from a stance of tough love, but we kind of see it behind the scenes at the end of the episode where Crystal's talking on the phone to one of her friends and she clearly does not like Sutton. These two just are not getting along. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. We're definitely going to see more of the Sutton Crystal feud. But let's move on to a former housewife who might be making a comeback. Is Teddi Mellencamp returning to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? A sentence I never thought I would have to say, Zach, after everything that we've been through. We know Teddi was fired last season after being a housewife for 3 years. She took to Instagram at the end of the last season, letting everyone know that Bravo decided not to renew her contract then. However, after having Kyle Richards on a recent episode of her podcast, Teddi's teapot. Teddi reveals she may or may not be making a comeback. She's set to be featured in an upcoming episode this season of The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You know, she's remained very close with a lot of the cast members, Erika, Lisa, Dorit, and Kyle. What do they call themselves? The Fox Force
Fox
5 or
Five.
something? And Kyle revealed in an interview that she had to beg Teddi to come back for just one episode. And while Teddi was very resistant and hesitant, she decided to do it. Why, Zach? Why do you think they want her back? They fired her. What could they possibly bring her back for?
Well, it sounds like Bravo didn't bring her back. It sounds like Kyle was the one that kind of really wanted to bring her back, possibly to kind of tell her own story a little bit, because she was fired. She kind of was let go. It's kind of weird when you see a housewife on the show for years and then all of a sudden they're just not there and there's no closing storyline. There's no exit. So I think that maybe that's why Kyle really wanted Teddi to come on to kind of share some of her final few thoughts and close out her storyline. You know, Teddi hasn't been the most liked by fans. I think that's obvious for any Housewives fan. So I think that's kind of why she was fired. But I don't think it's that big of a deal for her to come back one episode. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I know we see Camille come back a lot, Kim Richards, Brandi Glanville. So it happens a lot with the Beverly Hills ladies where they'll leave the show and then pop up for an appearance, you know, every once in a while. So I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, that was my next question. Like, what are your thoughts? What if, let's play hypothetical, what if she came on for more than one episode? How would you feel about that?
I don't want that. You know what? I was not a fan of Teddi. Like many of us online, she really gets the rap for being the most boring and hard to watch. But I don't know what it is. We all just get so frustrated watching Teddi on Real Housewives. So I do not want her back for multiple episodes, but I'm fine with her coming back for one episode just to kind of hear what she has to say, see where she, you know, kind of fits in with the group. You know, I really enjoyed her feud with Sutton last season. It seems like Teddi is connected with a lot of the cast still. So it's hard to believe that she was just kind of let go. You know, I think she could have been a friend of. She has so many friends on the show.
Yeah, I mean, wow, that is so much. And what we're 3 episodes into the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills right now, and there's just so much going on. You know, before this season, they've been kind of getting some backlash. Really, a couple of the franchises, you know, Orange County, people were talking about it not being as good as it once was, and the same for Beverly Hills. Do you think that they're finally making a turnaround, that Beverly Hills is finally getting on the right track to be one of the fan favorites again?
You know, I do know that there's been a few people online saying that Beverly Hills hasn't been their favorite or it hasn't been as good. I am not one of those people. I have always loved Beverly Hills. It's always been one of my favorite franchises, along with New Jersey and along with Atlanta. So anytime there's Beverly Hills, they don't have to do anything. I'm just so invested in their fabulous, rich lifestyle. And all of the girls are so beautiful. They have great fashion. There's always drama on Beverly Hills. So you know what? It's always good, in my opinion. Do you like Beverly Hills?
Oh, yeah, I love Beverly Hills. It was always one of my favorites. I mean, obviously, with all of these franchises, there's moments of boredom. There's moments of, you know, it being the best franchise at the moment. I do think that this season is turning out better than maybe the past 2 or 3 seasons, but it's still very early. You know, we have to wait. But I will religiously watch The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It definitely is one of my favorites. Let's move on to New York, a franchise that some people are deeming boring this season as well. You know, I was just in London for a week and a half. I missed both episodes of The Real Housewives of New York. But as soon as I came back, I was like, okay, I got to catch up on everything. Zach, I sat down to watch The Real Housewives of New York on 2 separate occasions and could not get through it because I was so bored. Am I alone in that? Or do you think it's kind of on a slump too?
It's never been my favorite, New York. It's never been my favorite franchise, but I do know that overall, a lot of the fans like New York. I always see it, you know, highest ranking, highest polls. New York is definitely a fan favorite out of all of the Housewives. It's personally just never been my number 1 favorite, but I am watching this season. I am keeping up. I'm really excited about Eboni, who's the new housewife, and I love Leah, and I love me some Sonia.
Yeah, let's talk about Eboni a little bit, because out of the past 2 episodes, there was maybe 5 minutes of explosives at the end of this past episode having to deal with Eboni. And she actually announced after it aired that she was going to be taking a social media break because of it. She had a recent fight over race with Luann de Lesseps when they were at her house. Let's take a little peek at what Eboni said on her social media.
I'm not going to be saying goodbye, but I'm going to be saying see you later. Tonight's episode and next week's episode are really intense and really important. I guess I'm going to pull a Naomi Osaka and pull back to protect my peace because I know a lot of that conversation and discussion is going to be rich and dynamic and important and productive. And a lot of it's going to be some spoiler alert. What happens tonight and what happens on next week's episode is the foundational bedrock to an ability for me and this group of women to develop a true sisterhood.
For everyone that doesn't know, Eboni was the first Black woman to join the Real Housewives of New York this season after having an all-white cast for the past 12 years. Eboni knew coming into the franchise it would take certain types of viewers and some of the ladies on the show a second to digest. I mean, especially when you have people like Ramona, who is just not always self-aware. And the same with Luann. I mean, what did you think watching this conversation between them, Zach?
You know, it was extremely uncomfortable because Eboni is really just trying to share her feelings, share her voice, share her education, and share her experience. I don't think Eboni was in no way trying to shade Luann and Ramona. But if you've been watching The Real Housewives of New York for many years, like we both have, you know how tone deaf and unself-aware Ramona Singer and Luann de Lesseps are on multiple occasions when it is coming, not only when it's involved with race, but like in regards to pretty much everything. Ramona and Luann both have word of the mouth or whatever it's called. They don't know when to stop talking.
Yeah, and in case you missed it, this fight basically started when Eboni had mentioned that she was the most educated person in the group, you know, strictly talking about her degrees. But Luann quickly disagreed with that, and it kind of caused a chain reaction where it just took a left turn very quickly. Eboni thought that Luann was talking over her and not letting her speak.
You're an angry woman right now.
I never
referred to your color.
Luann, you know, actually said to her, "Why are you so angry?" Which really hurt Eboni to the core because she said that is a common stereotype that Black women have to face all the time, is being labeled as that, when really she wasn't angry. She was just explaining to everybody else that on paper, she is more educated because she has these degrees. She's done X, Y, and Z. Maybe she hasn't been to as many countries as Luann has or can speak as many languages, but that's not the point that she was getting at. And it got so intense that Luann kicked Eboni out of her house, which I was shocked to see that. Were you?
Yes, 100%. But you bring up a good point because Eboni wasn't the angry one. Like, yes, Eboni was frustrated and upset, but she wasn't screaming. Ramona was the one who like couldn't even, you know, deal with what was going on. She put her hands in her ears. Leah left the table. Sonia was the only one that was calm, and Luann was actually the one getting angry. So I think it was extremely inappropriate and tone deaf to call Eboni angry, especially because of what that label means. And, you know, putting that on a Black woman is just not okay, especially when that's just not what's going on here. So I was definitely frustrated and upset for Eboni, and I would have left her house too.
You know what's interesting though, Zach, is that Sonia was really the voice of reason in this conversation. In her confessional, she said, you know, Ebony's not being angry. She's just using her words. And I totally agree with that. Eboni was able to articulate what she was saying. She wasn't getting angry. She wasn't yelling like Ramona and even Sonia and Luann and Leah. I mean, they're all constantly yelling at each other, and none of them get pegged as angry when they're having that argument. But as soon as Eboni tries to speak up for something, that's the first thing that Luann says. That's just one of the many challenges I think it is, being the first person of color to enter the Real Housewives of New York City. Do you think that she maybe felt unwelcomed by the group? And what challenges do you think that Eboni will have to face this season?
You know, I think there was a lot of pressure for Eboni coming into the Real Housewives of New York City, being a woman of color, when this has been a full white cast for the past 12 years. So I think she was a little bit intimidated, not necessarily by the ladies, but just based on the viewers and the audience and the people watching. There's definitely a lot of pressure that she wants to really represent people of color on the Real Housewives of New York City. So I think she definitely felt a little bit of that going into the show. But I think we obviously know that Leah was the one that introduced her. She definitely welcomed her. But it was funny because on the first episode, I remember, you know, Eboni telling Leah, Sonia kind of looked her up and down. Ramona kind of looked her up and down. It seems like a few of the older school girls on the show, Luann, Sonia, Ramona, were kind of like, okay, who is this? And I don't know if it necessarily had to do with her race or if it just had to do with her being someone new because, you know, these other housewives have been on the show for 10 plus years. But Real Housewives of New York City is such a dysfunctional group of women. I mean, are they even a friend group? They are just so like messed up. The five of them, they're just so all over the place. And you know, it's crazy like that when Sonia is the voice of reason.
Yeah. So, I mean, this whole situation is what caused Eboni to take a little social media break. She did say she was going to come back in a week or so after this kind of plays out. But I think that, you know, we've been seeing this a lot lately and kind of even outside of the Bravo world, when all of this went down with Rachel Lindsay and The Bachelor, you know, she had to take a break from social media too, because what I think some people don't realize, and in this day and age, the 5-minute conversation that they had at the end of The Real Housewives of New York will live on social media forever. People will talk about it forever, and you can't win on social media. You have people coming at you from all angles. So I think if I were Eboni and I was in that situation too, I would take a break from social media because, you know, she's going to be harassed. She's going to be called certain names. And I just don't think that's fair of her or that's fair of people to do to her. And she even, you know, she thanked Bravo and the network for having her back and giving her a voice, saying, I'm not doing it by myself. I'm doing it with my castmates and with the support of our network and with the support of many of y'all. She also mentioned on the show that Ramona has white fragility and that she has been frustrated with some of her co-stars. I mean, yes, Ramona does have white fragility. I've never heard that word before or that saying, but when you say it, it is Ramona because she is white and she is fragile. What do you think? Is taking a social media break the best thing for Eboni right now? And what do you think about Ramona? How is she going to get through this season?
You know, Ramona should have been fired how many years ago? I know she's a fan favorite amongst a lot of people, but she's always saying the wrong thing. She did not take COVID protocol seriously. She's really said a lot of ignorant things over the years. So I can't even believe that Ramona is still on the show. But I think that taking a social media break is great when you need it. You know, Rachel Lindsay, as you mentioned, took one when everything was going down with The Bachelor. I'm sure Eboni is getting a lot of hate. It's very unfortunate that there are a lot of racist people still in the world. And sometimes the hate is louder than the love, especially on social media where people are trolls and they do say things behind a computer screen. So I completely understand why Eboni would want to take a social media break. You know, she mentioned she will be back after the next episode of The Real Housewives of New York City. So she's not going to be gone for long. She seems to be in a good headspace if you watch that Instagram video. So she's doing okay. But I definitely understand why she wants to take a break. But I also think it's important that she doesn't let these trolls get the best of her and that she uses her platform to help encourage, inspire, and educate everyone because she does have a growing platform. She is now on Housewives. This is a huge platform. So I think Eboni is extremely intelligent, extremely wise, and extremely educated. And I want to be able to hear her speak more on these topics.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was thinking this whole time too, is that, you know, for the moment, I think it's the right choice. If for her mental health and her positive headspace, she needs to kind of take a break, 100% for it. But she is strong. She is very intelligent, fiercely independent. So I feel like having her come out on the other side of it too, I'm going to want to see her on that side of things as well once she gets through the next couple of weeks. So let's move on from the Real Housewives of New York to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. Zach, this tea just dropped literally right before we started filming this live. As you know, the latest bombshell in the Real Housewives of Atlanta has been Porsha's engagement to Simon, who was married to a friend of Falynn. Okay, so Falynn just came out with a little teaser that she's doing a sit-down interview to expose Porsha and Simon. Let's take a look.
Fans were speculating that you may have been cheating on Simon.
Simon doesn't get caught unless Simon wants to be caught.
He convinced you to join a show, and now he's engaged to another one of the cast members.
God, the balls on him.
You had this woman in your home. She met your family. She swam in your pool. Do you resent that?
I meant what I said when I took my vows. It hurts like hell. I love hard. I love really hard.
Wow. Initial reaction, Zach. Just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind.
I'm sad for her. As long as she's not acting, I'm definitely sad for her. It's so shady how, regardless if it was a co-star or not, or a friend of, I mean, they were married for many years and they just got divorced, and now her soon-to-be ex-husband is already engaged to someone else, and they're not even officially divorced yet. So let alone it's someone that Falynn was friends with, Porsha, but it sucks. That really must really hurt.
Yeah, and there's all this talk online about how Porsha and Falynn were never really friends and blah blah blah. Look, the matter of fact is that Falynn was introduced on the show as a friend of Porsha. So even if they weren't best friends, even if they were just friendly, Porsha knew that Falynn was married to Simon. I mean, they were in the house together at the Halloween party. That's kind of when Falynn got her big moment, when she got into the fight with LaToya about her husband.
This is a beautiful home, by the way.
Thank you. Yes.
This is what dating a 65-year-old does.
Zach, are you surprised that she's doing a sit-down interview, and will you watch?
Of course I will watch. I would never miss that for the world. I'm not really surprised. I think that she should be able to tell her side of the story, especially because Porsha, the other woman, has a huge platform. She's been on Real Houses of Atlanta for how many years? I think a lot of people are almost going to take Porsha's side just because she's a fan favorite amongst Bravo. So I think that it's important that Falynn does share her side of the story. And what does she have to lose? They both totally screwed her over and probably went behind her back and weren't honest about her. So I think she's allowed to share her side of the story, and I hope that she gets a good paycheck for it.
Yeah, Porsha's side of the story, I mean, we really have only seen it on an Instagram caption when she confirmed that her and Simon were engaged. Pretty much just saying that her and Falynn were never really friends, that they were not together anymore. So now, like you said, we are going to see Falynn's side of the story. But just on your blind reaction, whose side are you on right now, knowing everything that we know, Porsha or Falynn, even though I think I know the answer?
No, I don't have a side because I have been a fan of Porsha for so many years. So it's like I want to support and love Porsha. But in this situation, I'm also kind of siding with Falynn because she seems to be the one that was betrayed by Porsha, who was her friend. I mean, we saw them film multiple scenes together. Porsha always talked highly of Falynn. She went to Falynn's house. So in this situation, I guess I'm on Team Falynn, but overall, I've been a longtime fan of Porsha, so it's kind of hard to turn on Porsha overnight just because she made a mistake.
I will say, I wish this happened while the cameras were rolling. Why does all the good stuff happen as soon as they start filming? But I'm sure.
They could be
Porsha,
filming right now.
Yeah, and Porsha is getting that special. What is it? 3 episodes, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Maybe 4.
So I'm sure we'll hear all about that. Okay, Zach, we have gone through it all. So much tea in the Bravo universe. You guys, let us know what you think on any of it. Are you excited for Erika Jayne's new documentary? Do you think we're really going to see what's going on with her and Tom Girardi on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills? Also, are you Team Crystal? Are you Team Sutton? Are you Team Porsha? And are you Team Falynn? And what do you think about Eboni Williams, how she handled that situation and her social media break? We will be recapping again for you next week, so make sure you subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of this Bravo tea. Make sure you give us a follow on social media as well. Our handles are on the screen now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.